This movie made you feel for Scooby and Shaggy. See them for more than just gluttonous goofballs, and that's a good thing. Hello, Jeremy Senpai here. We are at the third movie now, and this is where we take a break from scares and get into some feels, or at least as close as we can for Scooby Doo. So, we started our little road trip in Louisiana, went to Massachusetts, and now we're in New Mexico. So, let's get started with Scooby Doo and the Alien Invaders.
Here to take over the world!
Do not fear us.
Why, it's too late for that, man!
Cartoon Network's Cartoon Theater presents Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders tonight at 7. For centuries, man has looked to the skies and asked himself, are we alone? For a group of intrepid young sleuths, the truth will finally be revealed.
They were green and slimy and had big bug eyes and are those glazed? Them aliens are here to take over the world! Ever since they built them dishes, aliens started to show up.
Do not fear us, Earth creatures.
Why, it's too late for that, man!
Cartoon Network's Cartoon Theater presents Scooby-Doo and the Alien Invaders tonight at 7 on Cartoon Network.
We open up with Scooby and Shaggy driving through the desert at night until the whole gang encounter a UFO, resulting in the mystery machine breaking down. So Fred and the girls go into town to get help while Scooby and Shaggy encounter the aliens. And we get a classic chase scene with my favorite version of the theme this time, performed by Jennifer Love Hewitt. I'm replaying this song a crazy bit. Scooby and Shaggy crash into a restaurant where the gang meets Lester, a crazy old painter man who believes that the aliens are real while everyone else here doesn't, and was even abducted by them, where it's heavily implied that he may have even been probed. The gang stay at Lester's for the night with Scooby and Shaggy sleeping on the roof, only to get abducted by the aliens but manage to escape. However, they black out and wake up the next morning where they meet Crystal and Amber, a wildlife photographer and her golden retriever, where they both fall head over heels. They get a ride back to town where they join the rest of the gang for breakfast, only for Scooby and Shaggy to turn down food, surprising everyone by not being hungry for once. Then we get a song called So Groovy, where Shaggy imagines his entire love story with Crystal, alongside Scooby and Amber too. The gang leaves to check out the van at the mechanic, where Scooby and Shaggy spruce themselves up by fixing their hair and Shaggy tucking in his shirt. Here, we meet the mechanic Buck, who is a bit of a suspicious character. The gang split up, Scooby and Shaggy going off with Crystal and Amber, while the others head off for the South Dishes to find more clues regarding the aliens. At the station, we meet Steve, Laura, and Max, who are using the dishes in search of aliens. However, Velma sees the mud on their shoes and suspects that they might be up to something beyond their job. They catch a ride with Lester, hang out into the desert, only to meet Buck out in the middle of nowhere, adding more to his suspicions. Meanwhile, Scooby and Shaggy make some attempts to woo Crystal and Amber, only to fail and yet at the same time succeed. They find their way to a fenced off area where they are barred from entering by some MPs. However, Crystal wants to go back, revealing that she's a government agent, sent here to investigate the alien sightings. Shaggy and Scooby are a little discouraged, but decide to help them out. Both groups find their way into the caves, where the aliens are spotted, only to discover an entire gold mining operation. But before they can investigate further, they get ambushed by the aliens and the MPs. We get our classic chase scene with the song The Aliens Are Here by Kip Tabor Lennon. This results in Fred, Daphne, and Velma getting captured, while Scooby, Shaggy, Crystal, and Amber falling deeper into the mines. Here, it's revealed that the crew from the South stations are the aliens, using it to cover their gold mining operations and use some of the gold money to play into the act further to make the locals believe that aliens are real. Meanwhile, the MPs follow the others, where Scooby and Shaggy try and fail to stand up to them. But we get the big reveal that the aliens are real, except Crystal and Amber are the aliens. They scare away the MPs, but change back before Scooby and Shaggy can see them. They all regroup, where they try to scare the MPs again, only for the girls to come to their rescue again. They start dealing with the gold smugglers until they decide to try and capture the aliens to make a fortune. But Scooby and Shaggy decide to get brave and save the girls. This results in the rest of the gang saved, and then all the bad guys are captured. Now, we get to the most emotional part of this series. Crystal and Amber thank Scooby and Shaggy for everything. They say that while they show an interest in Scooby and Shaggy, sadly they have to leave, but are hopeful that we can see them again. And to this day, the Scooby Doo fandom is hopeful for them to return. In the end, the bad guys are all arrested, the van is fixed up, and Buck is actually a nice guy. And we end up on a bit of a mellow note with Scooby and Shaggy looking up at the night sky, thinking about Crystal and Amber, until they rebound with a box of Scooby snacks, showing that while they're hurt, they can still move on. And that's the movie. Now, let's talk shop. One of the main things I think about when it comes to this movie is the Burger King toys. I used to have this little Scooby keychain with a flashlight, only for my first grade teacher to confiscate it since it counted as a toy, at least in her opinion. And to this day, I have never gotten it back. But not too sore about that. Okay, the biggest takeaway is that this was Scooby and Shaggy's movie. We're so used to seeing these two as the lovable goofballs who love to eat, run away from ghosts, and yet somehow still save the day. But this is a version of them we never knew we wanted. Seeing Scooby and Shaggy falling head over heels for Crystal and Amber to the point that they aren't even hungry. I especially love how, when the girls are in danger, they're not afraid to square up, despite them shaking like crazy. My favorite scene for them is when they find out that they're really aliens, but instead of getting scared, they end up saving the day. I also love where Shaggy and Scooby are all doe-eyed, and Fred sniffs the water bottle like he's thinking there was some alcohol or was laced with something. And during the groovy song, Shaggy is in such a rush that he takes the mystery machine, leaves the rest of the gang, including Scooby, and even the ghost is confused. That just always is hilarious to me. And we even get a heartfelt goodbye when Crystal and Amber leave to go home. Even after discovering that Crystal and Amber are aliens, they don't get scared or run away. They genuinely still like the girls. Also, this is a huge change for the Scooby formula. Crystal and Amber are the monsters of the story, and yet they aren't the bad guys. They're allies to the gang. Their relationship is by far the winning point of the movie, but there are others worth talking about. What I especially like is that the crew took cues from the old Scooby formula of the mask off villain and the new formula of the monsters being real. Yes, the aliens are real, they're just not the monsters of the movie. In fact, there's a nice little foreshadowing when there's a cut from the aliens and we see Crystal and Amber in the next scene. They also play into this well by introducing multiple red herrings, like Buck the Mechanic, Lester, and Serge the Cook, really adding an air of mystery compared to the other movies. Now for the actual bad guys. Honestly, they're just copy and paste bad guys who use the alien gig to scare people away so they can mine gold. Nothing we haven't seen 100 times by this point. Plus, I find it really hard to believe that they somehow managed to mine gold, pretend to be aliens to scare people away from their operation, and were able to keep their easy government jobs. Like, I'm a self proclaimed master of multitasking, and that sounds hard even for me, but I digress. Overall, Scooby Doo and Alien Invaders is a standout as it takes Scooby and Shaggy and puts them in a character role nobody ever knew they wanted or need to see from them. And for that, it takes these two lovable goofballs and put them in the next level development. But these are just my thoughts, what are yours? Do you think Scooby and Shaggy and Amber and Crystal are a match in the heavens above? Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. Hit like and subscribe if you like what you've heard, and have yourself a groovy day.